But when we think about, where does that recognition program lie? It's here's a $5, Starbucks gift card for doing a good job. Well, what Michael says here, and what I 100% agree with, is that what you are reinforcing are behaviors that align with your mission. So this isn't just about training, but it really is acknowledging when employees are carrying out your mission as well.
What's the one premier event that brings the global attractions industry together? IAPA Expo 2025, happening in Orlando, Florida, November 17th through the 21st.
From breakthrough technology to world-class networking and immersive education, IAPA Expo 2025 is where you find possible.
And just for our audience, you'll save $10 when you register at iapa.org/IAPA Expo and use promo code EXPO, APROS 10.
Don't miss it. We won't.
Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the attractions industry today.
We chat with some of the top leaders in the field and provide resources that will help develop your career in this great industry.
I am Josh Liebman. I am obsessed with the guest experience and helping attractions make that their top priority for success.
And I'm Matt Heller. I am passionate about organizational effectiveness, leadership development, and employee engagement.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and get ready for the Attraction Pros podcast. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going fantastically, Josh. How are you?
I'm good. Are you okay?
I'm fantastic. Yes. I just
felt like you got tripped up there. You added more A's in the second part of the A's in fantastic when you usually do it in the first syllable A's. Wow, we've been doing this 416 times now, haven't we?
Yes. Yes. I'd have to go back and look to see when I started the fantastically thing, because I don't remember when I started, to be honest.
I've thought about that too, and it was a while ago. I mean, like it was probably, I don't know. I don't know if it was in the first 100 episodes, but I don't think it was much after that. If it was more than that. Yeah. Maybe if there's anybody out there watching or listening who knows when this became a thing, we don't know, but let us know.
But let us know.
Or if anybody wants to do the research and figure it out, let us know. And when we started it, was it in every single episode? Did it become a thing immediately? I think just at one point we realized this is something that you always do.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very organic.
It was. Yeah. Which means we're going to need some help figuring out when it started.
Yeah. But first, we need some help connecting employees to the mission. We are here with a Minisode, which means a shorter commitment than the majority of our episodes. Recently, we interviewed Michael Floyd from the Tennessee Aquarium in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Of course, it's a good thing that the Tennessee Aquarium is in Tennessee. Otherwise, I don't know. Then we'd have to wonder why it was called that. I don't know. I'm off on a trail here. What did we talk about? Oh, he talked about how, as part of the culture at the aquarium, they intentionally focus on connecting employees to the organization's mission. And that it goes a bit beyond training manuals. It goes a bit beyond onboarding, and not going to give too much away as far as what he talked about, which means, yes, you need to go and listen to that episode because it was a fantastic interview. But we started to think, what are other organizations doing to connect them to the mission? Now, Tennessee Aquarium is an example of a cultural attraction. It's a nonprofit. It's very mission driven, which is very much the case within aquariums and zoos and museums and very much that sector of the industry. But we put this question out on our social channels as far as this thought starter goes, which really can apply to the entire attractions industry and obviously to many industries, but our industry consists of attraction pros, and therefore our audience represents those who respond to it. So we asked, rather than simply telling staff what the mission is, how do you create authentic, hands-on opportunities for team members to experience and internalize the mission? And we got some good responses back from it.
We sure did. We sure did. So, should we go ahead and share some of those? And then, hopefully after you've heard these, you'll be able to say, hey, well, this is what we do, and we'd love to hear those things as well.
100%. Do you want to kick it off?
Let's kick it off. So, one of our first responses came from Kelly. And Kelly said, I think it's important for employees to know exactly where their role fits in achieving the mission and be as specific as you can. It helps them connect and feel like they are contributing. When I worked at a history museum, I let everyone know during orientation that their duties further the mission of telling the story. And I think what's so cool there is the ability to tie specifically what that team member does, no matter where they are in the organization, to the mission, and that helps everybody stay more engaged.
Yeah, I love it. Jeff says our mission is at the forefront of most everything we do at Hershey Entertainment and Resorts Company. We provide value to Milton Hershey school students year round through student internships, classroom visits, fellowship opportunities, group trips to Hershey Park, and so much more. It's an honor to carry on the legacy of Milton Hershey himself, and extremely fulfilling to know that our work positively impacts not just our guests, but a generation of students as well. So Jeff, of course, works for Hershey, if you couldn't tell from that response already. And what I love about this is, like how we talked about, yes, when we think of mission oriented organizations, a lot of times we're just assuming we're talking about the nonprofit side of the industry because that's very much where an area of focus strongly is. Even Kelly talking about working in a history museum, and Jeff has now connected this to chocolate and very much the mission and the legacy that Hershey has built within the community, within the industry, not just in the attractions industry, but in the snack food industry, but very much kind of going beyond that, everything that they do to serve their community. So thank you, Jeff, for submitting that.
So Chris says, I regularly engaged with frontline activities and had my management team do the same. And that was part of our ongoing commitment, demonstrating genuine dedication rather than a one-time publicity gesture. By consistently embodying our organization's mission, we built greater trust and belief among our team members. I'm so glad that Chris brought up having the management team role modeling the mission and engaging in that on a regular basis. Because in my experience, whether you're a for-profit, nonprofit, wherever you fall on the spectrum of organizations, if your senior leaders and even your middle managers are not living the mission, then your frontline team members aren't going to either. So critically important that everybody is engaged in that. And it's not just as he puts it, a one-time publicity gesture, but it's actually part of your organization's culture.
Michael says the mission and employees' part in it must feel meaningful, and there has to be reward mechanisms that acknowledge a mission well carried out, be it short-term effort or long-term consistency. I really like this because I talk to my clients a lot of as far as what their reward program is, what their incentive program is, and I know that you've joked about this many times of just here's the one-size-fits-all pizza party for everybody, right? But when we think about, where does that recognition program lie? It's here's a $5, Starbucks gift card for doing a good job. Well, what Michael says here, and what I 100% agree with, is that what you are reinforcing are behaviors that align with your mission. So this isn't just about training, but it really is acknowledging when employees are carrying out your mission as well.
So Gil says, live your company's values. Be open to hear the good and bad. Be respectful and kind. If you can do so, it goes a long way toward helping the staff buy in and connect to the mission. And I love what he says here about being open to hearing the good and the bad, because I think everybody needs to be open to when we are achieving our mission and when we're not. There can be times when people in upper leadership positions are, thinking of a strategic way to go, and maybe somebody in the lower rank says, I don't really know if that connects with the mission, or the way you've taught me the mission, the way you've taught me to live the values, that doesn't really align. And, we all have blind spots. We all have areas of our business that we maybe even be too engaged in, that we can't see the bigger picture. We can't back up and see that 30,000-foot view. So if you are open to hearing the good and the bad, being respectful and kind when you're hearing it, I think is really critical, because that then sends the message that nobody is above the mission, right? The mission should be the thing that we're all trying to achieve. And by being open to hearing other people's impressions of it, then you just get a wider view of how it can be achieved.
Very well said, both you and Gil. Brandon says, this takes an investment of time. One-on-one conversations are usually thought of for developmental talks, but can also be great excuses to stop, think about what you're doing together, and have a cheesy moment of pride for what you're a part of. Simple one-on-one interactions like that take time and may feel like not the best use of hours when you have everything else thrown at you, but can spread like wildfire through the rest of the team and really give the culture a boost. Got lots of examples of this when it's truly worked. I I love this because Brandon's basically saying this is not necessarily something you can do at scale. Yes, you can post a message in the company Slack channel that gets to everybody, and I think you can and should be doing that, or whatever equivalent communication medium you have. But the one-on-one piece of it makes it personalized for every single team member, and I think that there's a lot of common threads through a lot of the responses here of really showing the team member their role in the mission, and doing that sometimes can take that investment and that one-on-one conversation and having that interaction with your team member and letting them know what their part is and what it is, and their pride in the organization, that cheesy moment of pride. I like that, of just there's no one's too cool to be above their mission or above the pride in their organization. So really appreciate Brandon's response there.
And if I could add one more thing onto that, I talk to a lot of people very often about one-on-one meetings, and I say sometimes, and I may have even said it on the podcast before, the biggest impact you can make is sometimes with the smallest audience. So I think that goes right in with what Brandon said about the one-on-ones. So we have one more here, Eric. He says, I believe it all starts with a look in the mirror. Is the organization's mission relevant and aligned to achievably aspirational goals? Does it align with who and what the organization actually is? Does the mission tie the goals and aspirations of all stakeholders together? For example, is there something for everyone, the stockholders, executives, managers, and frontline team members? Is the leadership team, local and corporate, modeling the mission? Emerging leadership models their behavior, and frontline staff will take the cue from this group. Building a culture of ownership and transparency will also reinforce the mission. Supporting the team when they live the mission and empowering them to do so goes a long way. Quarterly town hall style meetings are a great way to answer questions and communicate ongoing strategies or a pivot, and transparently bridge that direction back to the mission for the team. He concludes by saying, another consideration is reviewing the mission annually or biannually. The mission doesn't need to be changed this often, but an honest, regular view with participation from the larger team goes a long way to nurturing buy-in. What I think is so incredibly insightful about what Eric says here has to do with buy-in, and he sort of refers to it at a couple of different places, because it's one thing to have the mission on a plaque on the wall. It's one thing, I don't know if anybody does this anymore, but it was a big thing when I was growing up to give everybody a wallet card that had your mission on it. To give people swag that, they could wear, and that type of thing. And that's all great for a visual reminder, but it doesn't on its own foster the emotional buy-in that someone needs to have in order for them to live the values of the mission. And I think what we're hearing from a lot of these answers is, if you live the mission, if you're setting the right example, that's one of the best ways to get your team to care about it and to connect with the mission. And I know in a lot of the conversations we've had here on the podcast that, like you said, we talk a lot about mission in a lot of these nonprofit organizations, people that are really dedicated and bought into the environment or to animal welfare and those type of things. You don't really have those conversations with people that love roller coasters. The mission of finding the best, negative G forces, like that's not a thing yet. Maybe it will be in the future. But I think that's where you find the more traditional sort of conversations about mission. But just about every company that I know of and that I've worked with and worked for has some sort of mission statement, whether they follow it or not. So it's not just the nonprofits. Everybody says they want to have a mission, and they've got this statement But I think to the point of everybody that's saying, that's given us their input, are we living the mission? Are we really
Mhm.
living those values and those behaviors that will set us apart from another organization?
Well, I think this certainly was a pretty impactful mini-sode here that really went deep into this concept. So I'm just very appreciative for all the people who responded to this, and you could tell that people weren't just replying for the sake of replying, but you could tell that there were some real thought put into this, and we really appreciate all of you for sharing it, not just with us, but really with the broader industry at large.
And like we said a minute ago, before we started sharing the responses, we'd love to hear what you do to connect your employees to the mission. So please feel free to reach out to us on the socials. If you happen to see this question after this airs, that's okay. You can still respond to it. You can also email us at attractionpros@gmail.com.
And with that said, we are very appreciative for everyone once again for sharing those insights with us, and to everyone out there who is watching and listening. Just remember, we are all attraction pros.